Hello everyone and welcome along to week number 10 of TGP1. It's the final week in the series, the season which has brought us so many highs and so many lows. It's the 29th season and the last one on F1 2017. We wave goodbye to the game and look forward to F1 2018. We already have the drivers and the constructors' titles all wrapped up, so now everyone's racing for pride and to finalise those last couple of positions left in the championship order. So as I mentioned, the driver's title has been wrapped up. Odem's fantastically winning it last time out and putting in a sterling performance to win in China. And the race before that, we had Matt winning in Australia. Matt's not joining us tonight, so his defence of fourth place at the moment in the title could be under threat from Paul and Phil, so he could find himself finishing 6th if those two have good races. As said, we do still have a fight on for second in the championship, mainly between Softy and Jonas, separated at the moment by just 3 points, with Jonas having the 3-point advantage as we stand. But Phil and Paul are very much not out of the running, as they could still see themselves spring up into those higher positions. James is best of the rest at the moment in 7th. Great performances from him since joining Ferrari just before mid-season. Martin in 8th. He's had a solid season, I have to say, on and off, but not joining us, unfortunately, tonight. And we look forward to seeing him hopefully next season. Jake, who does finally come back to join us tonight, he's had a bit of an up and down season. He's had a good season in sense when he's turned up, but the first couple of rounds found himself more often than not in the wall and facing the wrong way. He finds himself 9th in the standings, and then just rounding out the top 10 we have Jamie, who you have to say I reckon is probably a little bit disappointed with the way his season's gone. But anyway, those places are still up for grabs. Qualifying, everyone, as I said, just starting their final laps. We've got Jamie getting quite close to Odems then, who has just gone pole, despite maybe being blocked a little bit by Odems at the last corner, has found enough time to put himself on provisional pole position with a 43.5. That's a stunning lap from the Mercedes driver. We're just saying that his season hasn't quite gone to plan. I think Odems was one of the last people to cross the line. We've got plenty of drivers out on track at the moment. Jake's had a moment. Jake's off in the wall. So Jake is not going any higher than 3rd. He lost it at Pouon. Disastrous for Jake and the Force India team, who've only got one car racing tonight. We've got the two Hasses on laps at the moment. Actually, I'm sorry to Odems. It was actually Josh who was holding up Jamie coming around the last corner, but it didn't stop him. Softy has just gone pole. Having said that, a 10th and a half almost quicker than Jamie. Good lap there from the man fighting for 2nd place in the championship. What sort of time can Odems do? He's just coming from mid up to Pouon now, where Jake's lap all went wrong, and Odems has got it wrong as well, and he's going to be in the wall surely. He has, and Odems is out. Oh dear, Pouon's catching out the best of them, and Odems is going to be no higher than 3rd. God, what is going on with that corner? I hope no one else has got to go through it still. Paul's just coming up to it now and taking it a bit more of a leisurely pace. Paul, I don't blame you. Jonas is just coming up to it now. Is he going to make it 3 in 3? No, he doesn't. Jan Pearson is going to be 9th at best. That's going to be his bat lap. Wace is finished up in 12th. Dom Smith is on a lap at the moment. He's just approaching Pouon. Dom, please don't bin it. We're watching. No pressure, mate. If you run right, we could see you in that wall, joining Odems and Jake. Dom goes a little bit deep, a little bit squirrely, but he's held on to it. Some great car control there from Dom Smith. James O'Connor's given up on his lap. He's not going any quicker. Jonas now approaching the bus stop chicane. Paul's backed out of his lap, so he's going to be 7th at best. Disaster for Paul, but Jonas is going to have to put in a stellar lap. He's going to get anywhere near Softy and hold on, or try and take 2nd place in the championship. Jean-Luc Taylor then up to the line, the man from Harlow. He doesn't improve. Well, he does improve, but not in any positions. So Jonas will start 10th. As we see now the two Ferraris coming into the pits. Dom Smith then the last man coming up to the bus stop chicane. I can see he's half a second up on his best lap. Is Dom Smith going to improve on 14th? He goes... No, he doesn't. He improves on his lap by half a second, but doesn't improve on his position. And that brings the penultimate qualifying of the season to a close. And Softy pulled out Exactly the lap he needed to. So, Softy's on pole, putting himself in a great position to retain second place in the championship. Of course, if he wins this race, that's it. Second is decided. Jamie J joining him on the front row. I think that's his first front row appearance of the season. He'll be mightily relieved of that, finally finding some form. Odems crashing out in his last lap will be third. Jake also crashing out in his last lap will be fourth. Josh might have held up Jamie a bit, which could have cost him a pole, but we never know, in fifth. Phil Barger then in sixth. Paul McGuinness seventh. Goins and Ray debutant for tonight in eighth. Jack Pearson ninth. Jonas 10th. And we had James just outside the top 10. So as the drivers get ready for the start of the race. And Skip. As drivers just finishing off the last bits of preparation for the penultimate time this season. You can sense there was a bit of a party atmosphere going round in the paddock. A couple of drivers looking forward to the next season on the new game. I'm not really sure which team they'll be in, who their teammates will be. There's definitely some competition out there. And we hope to have another very competitive season next season, with the best drivers going at it for the title. But we've still got 2 more races of season 29 before we hit season 30, so we need to make sure we enjoy that for the time being. So the lights are coming on then. For the second to last time this season, 5 lights are on. And we're underway in Belgium. Good start for Softy and Jamie. Odems bogging down a little bit, getting a little bit squirrely as they head down towards La Source. Is Odems going to have a little move from Jamie? I tell you what, one of the Hasses further back was getting a little bit interested. Jonas has got tangled up a little bit with a Ferrari further back as the field now head down into Eau Rouge. Are we going to see any drama coming through here? Jake is alongside Odems and gets through. Phil Barger is up to 5th. As they head on the long Kemmel Straight now up to Lake Arm. Softy's going to have to be watching his mirrors as the pack chase him down towards the tricky chicane where we always see a lot of overtakes. Are people going to go a little bit attacking? Phil Bargewell is, and might have gone round the outside of Odems then. And if he can pull that up, what a move from Phil. And he could even go around the outside of Jake, is he? He's going to have a bloody good go. There's contact. Jake's almost round. He's held onto it, but dropped a lot of places as Phil Bargewell moves up to 3rd. Disaster for Jake, who's fallen down to 13th and is now being put under pressure from Erlang, with Red Bull Kim bringing up the rear. But it's Softy who, after the first few corners and a little bit of melee going on behind him, has held his own out at the front, and Josh has even now managed to get past his teammates. So not the best race start for Odems, who's now got Paul McGuinness and Jonas all over his tail, as Jonas is getting a little bit interested in the Ferrari 6th place. But for the time being, Paul does enough to hold on to it. And we've got Goings going for a spin in the background, and he's in the gravel, but he's kept it going. And Goings there will have to now recover those places back as we head back towards the front now. The top 2 starting to scarper away. Jamie clearly feeling very confident around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, with Jake making up another place. He's back up to 12th now. The field already starting to spread themselves out, but one person who isn't is Paul, who's putting Odems under a lot of pressure. Did he get some damage early on in the race? He's locked up going into the bus stop chicane. Jonas is trying to go around the outside and might have just got that move stick. Softy sets the fastest lap as he extends his lead out the front to 7/10 of a second, as Phil started to catch them up in the last sector as well. Paul's holding his own. Jonas is having a look up the inside, and the Renault driver has run into the back of Odems. Oh, I don't know what happened to Odems then, but he was very slow coming out of La Source, and it's now almost 4 wide going into Eau Rouge. This is probably only going to went one way, and for the time being, Paul McGuinness has held his own, leading this little pack as they're squirming and swarming up towards the Kemmel Straight and back towards Lake Arm. Paul covering the inside line, making sure Odems cannot get a sniff. He's going to have to go the long way around. Have 5 cars going to Lake Arm side by side as Josh is getting quite close to Phil Boswell in front, and it's Odems who comes out of the tricky chicane in 5th place, as we've got Jonas running a little bit wide in the background, and all these cars starting to bunch up now behind Odems, who surely must have some damage.
Yeah, I do.
The recently crowned world champion is really starting to bottleneck everyone else up behind him now, and you can sense some of these drivers are going to want to try and get through as soon as possible. Jake's made his way back up to 11th now, so he's having a great race so far, getting back from his earlier incident, and Jonas is starting dropping back a little bit now, and in a minute is going to have Jack Pearson breathing all over his 8th place and wanting to progress even further as Jack Pearson gets himself ready for another season of TGP2, where he hopes to be able to finally take the World Championship there. As the cars now make their way onto the back straight, heading towards Blanchimont. The top four have scarpered away, the top two in particular, and we can see them still struggling behind Jonas and Odems. Here's Paul going to make a move on Odems into the bus stop chicane. He's going to have a good think about it, as Odems has another lockup. He's not going to want to have too many of those. Jonas has to go defensive and pit. I wonder if he has got some damage. And now Jack Pearson moves into 7th as Jamie Day sets the fastest lap on his pursuit of Softcop in 3rd. But his teammate now is going to have to look in his mirrors as he comes under pressure from James, as Paul has a bit of a lockup there, and that could be enough of a chance for Jack Pearson to get DRS on him and keep Odems safe in 5th for another lap. As Jake's now made his way up to 9th thanks to Jonas's pit stop. Jonas has come out, or will come out. Yes, he's come out behind. Is he going to be behind? Yes, he's going to be behind Goings. So Goings is having a slightly better race as Jack Pearson was on the DRS, but was also having to go defensive from James O'Connor. The Irishman has had a very solid season in the Ferrari ever since joining from Williams, and he's going to want to finish the season off with a high and maybe try and get past Jack Pearson in front, as we can see Erlang having a little bit of a hairy moment in the background. But still, Odems has managed to give himself a little bit of a gap now to Paul, thanks to Paul's lock-up into La Source. So that will be relief to him. He goes a little bit wide in Pouhon. Did that in qualifying, remember, and ended up in the wall, so he's not going to want to do that too many more times, as Jake makes his way up the inside of Jack Pearson, and we've got a car off in the background. Wace is off in the Williams, and it's a race of two halves, but Wace is going to want to think about his half a little bit more closely at the moment, as Jake Davis is now starting to hound the back of James O'Connor as Jack Pearson starts plummeting down the order, maybe suffering some tyre wear. But we've got Jamie there. I'm looking at my timing screens now, just 0.3 of a second off of Softy, the Mercedes driver, finally finding his form as Softy pits. Now, is Jamie going to be able to perform the overcut? As also Phil pits in the background. So we've got 1st and 3rd coming into the stops. Has Paul decided to pit? No, he hasn't, but Odems has. Has anyone else decided to peel off? Dom Smith is coming to the pit as well. Oh, and there's a bit of a close call there. Phil Bardwell just about having a safe release there, as Odems did have front wing damage. The number 69 car has his front wing replaced. And he is going to actually come out behind Dom Smith. But where is he going to be in relation to Goings? Goings is just coming up to La Source now. And Jonas, what are these two? Where are they going to come out in relation to the rest of them? So Jonas just gets on the gas now, coming out of La Source. It's going to be very close between him and Odems, as the two Williams have decided to pit on the same lap. So Red Bull Kim's had to queue behind Wace, both of them taking front wing changes. And now we got Jonas all the way over the back of Odems, and is he going to be able to make a move down to Les Combes, round the outside and on the DRS? Odems are going to be later on the brakes. He's holding the inside line. They both run a little bit wide. Jonas has to take the escape road and gets a 3-second penalty in the meantime for doing so. I don't know if he has to let Odems through. I think he was far enough ahead to be able to hold on to it. But for sure there, Jonas getting a little bit of a slap wrist from the stewards. And Softy has come out in a nice little pocket of space to be able to put in a quick outlap and try and alleviate an overcut from Jamie Day. But of course he will be struggling a little bit later on in the race with that tyre wear. So we're watching Jamie now. Is he going to peel off into the pits? James O'Connor's hounding his teammate in the background. Will Jamie pit? Yes, he does. Is Josh going to pit? Yes, he does. Which one of the Ferraris will pit? Paul goes defensive into the bus stop. Actually, Paul's on the ultra soft tyres. James on the instant. Oh, and Paul's lost it in the pit lane. Paul has hit the wall, and Jake has been able to overtake him in doing so. Disaster for Paul.
What's happened, mate?
I don't know.
And Jack Pearson's also coming to the pits. Where's Jamie going to come out in relation to Softy? Softy's come around La Source at the moment. Jamie's leaving the pits, clips the wall, gets a little bit of sideways action, and might have a little bit of action from Phil Bardwell now as well. Coming down to Eau Rouge and coming onto the Kemmel Straight. Phil will have DRS. Will the undercut have worked to get Phil up into 2nd place? Josh has come out well behind this little scrap as Jamie covers the inside line, but Phil Bardwell on the DRS I think is going to have it done well before the corner. But the straight line speed on that Mercedes is very much helping Jamie, but he tucks into behind Phil Bardwell, and for the moment at least concedes what will be 2nd place.
Jeez, what's going on?
But Phil gets a little bit leery coming out of Les Combes and then into Rathillon. Phil decides, well, keeps his place. Jamie decides not to pounce. And Josh in the background will be hoping he can get as close to this little battle as possible. And as Paul lost a lot of time, he's definitely lost a place to Jake. That's not ideal for him, but stayed ahead of Johners. And Jack Pearson's now got ahead of Goings in the background. Those two, as said, will be contesting in TGP2 next season. And Will Goings be a bit of a favourite. We've got yellow flag further back as Jack Pearson's out of the race. Oh, I was just talking about how he needs to have a good season. He's quick around Belgium, and he's bottled it. What a village. Right. Jamie is hounding Phil still, and Phil is going to have to go defensive into bus stop through Blancham on the flat out left-hander. Phil covers the inside line. Jamie's going to have a look round the outside. He's late on the brakes. This is going to be Lewis Hamilton and Raikkonen. There's contact. Jamie has to go over the curb a little bit. Softcop sets the fastest lap of the race. Jamie now with the DRS. Is he going to be able to make a move into La Source, or is he going to hold off for the Kemmel Straight? For the time being, he sits behind the Red Bull driver. Now Jamie's tyres have come up to temperature. He's looking quick, and someone else who's looking quick is Odems, who's just half a second off the back of Johners now, who's less than a second off of Paul as well. So that could get interesting down the Kemmel Straight and through Eau Rouge. But as they're coming through Eau Rouge now, Phil Bargewell, Jamie Day on the DRS, who is going to be in second, net second, coming out of Les Combes. Jamie has to go to the outside again. And we've got a fantastic aerial shot as Phil outbreaks himself a little bit. This is going to get a little bit ropey. Jamie round the outside of the last part of Les Combes. Is he going to make that move stick? Yes, he is. But coming now down to Radion, they're going to be side by side. Phil Bargewell holds his own at the inside, gets a little bit of understeer, has to slam on the brakes. Josh is getting a little bit interested further back and through the corner with no name. Jamie Day makes the move stick as they come now down to Pouhon. Phil Bargewell having to go defensive still. What a great battle between these three. Josh is going to have a look around the outside. Pouhon, you can't overtake there. As the trio now give themselves a little bit of breathing room, I'm sure, before the next instalment of a fantastic battle. As we're looking further back, Odems is hounding Johners like he is a fox as they come to the end of Sector 2 now. Are we going to see Odems try and make a move into the bus stop? Johners getting all leery on the exit there. The car clearly isn't handling well for the Renault driver at the moment as he goes wide again. I don't know if he's got front wing damage, but Johners is really struggling, and Odems doesn't even need the straight to be able to pull alongside and surely get past the Haas driver, but he's holding on to it as much as he can. Erlang, I don't know what's going on with Erlang, but we heard Softy on the team radio not very happy about something. Apparently he's a laggy bastard, as Odems has for sure made the move up the inside of Johners, and that is that. And for the time being, that is 9th place. As Jake, on his pursuit back towards the top few places, sets the fastest lap of the race. So now these two continuing their little tussle, coming down towards Eau Rouge. Actually, Josh is just a tenth of a second off Phil. Phil's had to go defensive immediately. Josh, are we going to see Phil being overtaken again round the outside of Les Combes? Will Phil outbrake himself again? No, he hasn't. Josh tries to stick with it. Phil uses a lot of curb on the inside to keep the place. And for the time being, Phil holds on to 5th. But come down to Radion. Are we going to see a change in place? Josh outbreaks himself a little bit and runs wide. That will lose him a little bit of time. And Odems has had a big crash. Wow. We heard on the team radio some drivers' reaction.
He just lost it. He lost it.
And the recently crowned champion finds himself with one wheel missing on his wagon and parked up at the end of Sector 1. And he will be very fortunate that he has already secured his title. But he is not going to secure another race win this season in Belgium. And are we going to see a safety car from that? There's been nothing as of yet from the FIA, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Something.
James O'Connor would really benefit from a virtual safety car at the moment, the man who hasn't pitted. As he comes into the pits now, is he maybe anticipating something? He'll hope so. Softy has a little look up going into, and here's Erlang, who, and he's clipped the back of Jamie. He comes into the pits, so he hits the barrier coming into the pits. But Josh and Phil continue their love affair of swapping places. And are we going to see a move into La Source? Josh thinks better of it, although has a little look. Reminds Phil that he's eager to get past as soon as possible, now that they are, for sure, battling over those podium places. And someone behind who's going to want to get involved in this very soon is the Force India and former world champion Jake Davies, but they are very much nose to tail. Phil immediately covers the inside line again. Josh on the DRS. Phil Bargewell is going to hope that once again he can brake at the right point to hold on to third place, and for the time being he has. Josh is trying around the inside of this corner now. Phil turns in the middle a little bit. They're very close to contact. The two of them get away with it, and Josh is going to have to put up being behind Phil for a little bit longer, but Jake is very much closing in on these two now, and we could soon have a three-way fight for the podium places. James O'Connor's come out in 6th position, so that's crucial for him, ahead of Paul McGuinness, who had that little mistake coming into the pits, which cost him quite a lot of time. As now the field still keeping themselves a little bit spread, but we're going to see Josh now and Phil's battle. Obviously Phil's tyres are a lap older than Josh's, and that will start coming to effect very shortly. Tyre wear around here is always pretty bad. Jamie continues his pursuit of Softy as well. The gap now down to a second. I don't know if Softy's made a mistake, but Jamie is really quick round here and fancies his chances of his first race win of the season. Josh then all over the back of Phil. Is he going to try into the bus-stop chicane? Phil has to go defensive. Josh may try around the outside. They get very close to contact again, but Josh just has to concede for the time being. Gets a really good exit out of the bus-stop chicane. Phil squeezing him as much as he can, and on the run down to La Source, are we going to see a change for third position? Phil then cuts to the outside, turns in on Josh, and somehow runs wide. And he's spun, and he's hit Jake.
Deary me,
Jake,
Phil.
the innocent victim again, as Phil drops down to 6th and has a damaged front wing. And he's going to really struggle in the next few corners, particularly Eau Rouge. Hopefully he holds on to it, and Jake loses more time and another position. And someone who was staring at potential podium now is going to just hope to stay in the top 5. Hopefully he didn't pick up a puncher from that as well. But this race has definitely not gone Jake's way. There's a man who's just been in the wrong place at the wrong time. But you have to say, fair play to Josh there. He did absolutely everything he needed to do and put Phil under pressure, made him make a mistake, got squeezed on the wall, put in a very brave move. Phil tried to hold on to it round the outside but couldn't, went a little bit wide and then spun up the rears. But Paul McGuinness is now climbing all over the back of Phil, and Jonas is wanting to get involved in this as well. Are we going to see Paul make a move into Pouon? No, we're not. Phil struggling, Paul loses some of his front wing, Phil runs wide, and Jonas says yes please, thank you very much, and takes 2 positions.
Phil's having a bad day. Jesus.
I've had a bad day so far. That's the only bit of good
team radio now. And just to remind everyone, we're on lap 9 of 11. Enjoy. And one man who's going to be looking forward to the fact there's 2 laps left is Softy, who is starting to increase the gap a little bit against Jamie, sorry. But for sure, the Mercedes driver might not be out of harm's way for long, as James O'Connor sets the fastest lap on the race. His ultra softs are working well. Could we see him climb up onto the podium after all? Josh put in a brave enough move on Phil, but in a lap's time might have to be staring in his rear view mirrors. Paul McGuinness is still all over the back of Jonas, but with that damaged front wing is going to really struggle through Eau Rouge and might lose out on the DRS. That at the moment, unfortunately, is the closest battle on track, as Phil has decided to stay out with a hugely damaged front wing just for the points rather than his safety. I told you he should have pitted. He would have had a podium. But as we now turn our attentions back to the battle at the front,
this is honestly one of the worst cars I've ever driven. It's so poor.
And at the moment, Softy is well on his way to securing 2nd in the championship, which is a bit boring, I can't lie. At least save it for the final race, can you? Do you want to just slow down and let Jamie through, Softy? Okay, worth a try. So Jamie then, just over a second gap to the Toro Rosso. This has definitely been one of Softy's finer drives all season. The man who at some races has just been lacking, but has definitely turned the wick up here in Belgium. And with just over a lap to go, will hopefully, for him at least, cruise home to another victory. His tally is going up. And maybe in a lap's time it will go up by one more. Thankfully, Winnie has not waved the flag a lap early, so that's nice.
I hope Goings isn't going 2 seconds more quicker than me.
Goings might catch Phil? Question mark. As they head one more time through the fantastic Eau Rouge corner. It's of course the last season of TGP1 without a halo, so all you drivers will be a lot more safer next year thanks to Dom Smith, so well done Dom for implementing the halos for the next season onwards. He's a privilege to have, always thinking of our safety. Is that very, very thoughtful man. So for one last time then, this is unfortunately the closest battle on track, apart from maybe James and Josh, but there's still just over a second between them. Jake has fallen off the bank of James O'Connor, sorry. And I don't think James has got enough time left to be able to catch and make a move on Josh. I mean, it's never over until it's over, and James seems very quick at the moment as Josh runs a little bit wide through Pouillon, so maybe it isn't over. The gap is just 7/10 of a second. Josh yet to claim a podium in TGP1, and James is going to want to make it a little bit longer until he can claim one.
Goings was right on Phil.
Oh, and Josh has gone a little bit wide there, actually. This is definitely not over. James O'Connor could still find himself on the lower step of the podium. Softy's just coming up to the bus stop chicane. I'm not sure which one of these to watch. I'm going to have to watch Softy cross the line as he's about to take another victory in TGP1. But James is coming up to the bus stop now and unfortunately isn't close enough as Softy wins again in TGP1. Jamie comes home second, a great race for him, and Josh has held off James to take his first podium in TGP1. James with a fantastic drive to finish up in fourth. Jake had to recover twice, and despite everything has finished fifth. Johners with his ruined car has finished sixth and will have to accept third place in the driver's standings. Paul McGuinness has come home in seventh. Goings did catch and overtake Phil. Disaster for Phil, who finished up ninth. Erlang picked up his first points in TGP1 in 10th. Wace will come home in 11th. There he is, coming around, drifting around the last corner. And then we can... Dom, what happened? I thought you were higher up than that. Why are you so far back?
It was going alright, but then on my first lap after pitting, I lost the back end of this very corner here, and then went into the wall, got throwing damage, so I had to pit again, and that was sort of my race over then. But,
well, if
unfortunately,
you're
but Kim though, Tim hasn't been lap mic, can I point out?
Amazing result for Kim. Fantastic. Well done, Kim. We're all very proud of you. But Dom,
Jones
you
just took my
are
car
still 19 points behind your teammate, and
really?
not really taken enough out to be able to close the gap yet, have you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit disappointing, but I mean, Luca's been better than me all season, Mike, so I can't complain really.
Of course. And we're also going to cut now to a brief chat with Odems. What happened?
Well, I got dive bombed from my own teammate into turn one and hit the side rather of Jake. After that, I was just defensive driving, but once the front wing came off, the pace was good, and then I blew up. Car just went on me.
Well, disaster for Odems. Hopefully you'll be able to pull it round in Abu Dhabi. But a man who pulled it round in Spa was Softy, as he takes yet another win in his illustrious career in TGP1. Jamie finally showing his worth in second. Will be happy with that for sure, as Josh takes his first podium in third. The Haas team might have had a little bit of complications in turn one, but when it came to the end, they've still got a driver on the podium. As the champagne flows, the drivers celebrate, and the season takes another step towards its final chapter. So a roundup then of the order. Softy wins again in Belgium. Jamie comes home second. As we said, Josh in third. James O'Connor, great race from him, coming up from 11th to finish fourth. Jake, he will be so gutted. It could have been so much better in fifth. Johners in sixth, losing out on second in the championship. Paul McGuinness in third. Goings, a good result from him in eighth. Phil Bargewell, disastrous race for him in ninth. Erlang in 10th, good result for him, picking up points in his first race. Wace in 11th. Dom Smith 12th. 13th for Rebel Kim. Then the two retirees of Odems and someone else.
My rear end was unstable for the whole fucking...
Who else retired in that race?
That was great to watch. What good commentary, Mike, as well. Great.
Thanks, babe.
I do like to correct something. The fight for second is still alive. It was
So
3
many close
points before
battles.
the race. So even with Softy's win, I think the gap is 19 points. So
No,
it's
he was-
not impossible, but very unlikely. So it's not quite over, and you never know what happens.
My rear end through P1, every time I went through P1, my rear end was sliding so much.
Who was Phil fighting with when it was Chopper Cam, Mike?
Oh, it was Josh.
That was
What
amazing. That was perfect timing, wasn't it? That
was
season
so
review
good.
stuff. The start of the battle to the end of the battle.
I do apologise to Odin for the lap 2. I tried to go down the inside of Paul, missed brake, outbrake myself, and just kind of tried to stop, but just couldn't, and went into the side of you.
Right, are we good to go?
I just want to check with Dom. Just want to check with Dom quick.
Race times, obviously, we said it was going to be a daytime one. Midday times progression 1. Yeah, so daytime race, yep, all good. Does it really matter? Yeah. Well, it's going to be a daytime race. Right, still no back-to-back winner than 90.
Softy, you can't win this race.
I just say that thanks to the Joe Sayer Sports point system.
No problem, Odems.
Yeah, I do apologise for that contact lap 2. I just fucking breaking up trying to get past Paul and just skidded into you. I drove terribly. I'm not blaming you, it's my own fault. I tried to pass you and fucked it.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that like it came off worse for you than it did for me, so it's not a problem.
Oh yeah, but I wanted to apologise. Then, yeah, I was a bit naughty, just cutting the corner when me and you were side by side and I was going off the track. I should have backed off, so if I get in further trouble, fair enough. I know I got a time penalty and that might be enough, but, you know.
It's all good.
I thought my race is fucked. I'm at the back. I'm about to stop and change my wings. So I've lost 5 seconds. So I might as well just say fuck it. It couldn't get worse.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, everything's ready. So if we're good to go, we're good to go.
Yeah, I don't think so. We will be online by now. Oh, hang on. On my way home now, but I'm not sure I can be asked. I hate Abu Dhabi. Okay, no, it's not coming.
Commentary comes from Martin Brundle and Mike Noon.
Oh, who's going to do that Abu Dhabi
No,
accent?
Mike, because it's Sky, I've got to say it after the FOM intro.
Oh, of course.
Because they're stupid like that.
Yeah, they are.
Why are we unreadied? Who unreadied?
I want to get it over so I can join Jurassic World.
Yeah, I cannot.
Seriously?
So yeah, Mike, don't forget the winner's stat if Sophie doesn't win.
Yeah.
Or even if he does win, then he's the first person to win back to back.
I'm also looking forward to whoever wins the first race next season. I mean, like, what if Odin wins the last round and then the first round of next season? First person to win a back-to-back race in ages.
Jack Pearson's pointed out the jinx again. Mike Noon mentions his name on commentary and then bins out.
Literally 2 seconds later.
Maybe I on TGP2 while racing.
Softy, if I'm winning in your second, I'll let you through. If I'm winning in your second, I'll let you through. Back-to-back winner.
No, don't, because we don't want Sophie doing back-to-back races. It ruins the stat. No, not me though, then. You've got to win the race.
Banned for life. TGP bans for life for Softy and
TGP
Odems.
banned for life for Softcop and Odems. Get it out.
If they do that, can we exclude it for the championship like '97?
I'd say we give the win to
Just because I'm third.
Yeah.
Okay, what I'll do is...
I think I'm third anyway.
What I'll do is I'll just
Skip.
keep corners until I get...
Rebel Kim says someone stopped on purpose and damaged his front wing 1 corner.
Rain.
Season of rain.
There was no one near him. He was like 20 seconds off Dom, who were like miles off of
Come on, maybe.
Wace.
He wasn't too bad that race. When he was
all your second
no, rain. So close.
Aw. Yeah, Joe, do you remember when you hit the safety car here? Just
Yeah, do you want to pipe down, Paul? Do you want to pipe down?
champion to
And then Mike was laughing straight
Got
after.
on the pit lane exit, of course he did. I forgot about that.
yeah.
Luckily though, Mike, I binned you in the wall at Austria the race before I won the title.
Yes, you had, hadn't you? Yes.
Yeah, the points have been close now. How many points was Softy behind Adams going in tonight? It could have been like a 6-point championship lead last night.
Yeah, it was. No, I think it was 60. I'm pretty sure it was
bonus
63.
rounds needed next week.
Softy's now 30 points off Adams. 30 points off Adams.
Just announce now, double points, last round.
I'm sorry, Adams got a point.
Phil,
Softy's
stop with
31
your
points
stupid
behind
points ideas.
Come on, Phil, we're a professional league here. We stick to the number points. Pipe down.
Don't suppose.
Yeah, look at this is a professional league. Look at last week's podcast.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Does anyone know what the points difference between me and Phil is? I need to be
What was it before?
I don't even know. But I
It
can
was. Before it was. No, it was 13 points in Phil's favour.
So it's now.
Paul only got 2 more points, so it's down to 11 now.
Oh, 11. Do I take? I'm sure I got 4 though.
You got 7, didn't you?
Dom, you got a good commentary voice. You use your turn to introduce Mike Noon in a normal voice today.
Oh no, I'm doing a normal voice. I'm not
Normal
doing it
professional
like-
voice.
Abu Dhabi accent.
What
You
do
got to
I
say something about live on Say Sport. Here's your commentary from Mike Noon.
What?
I don't know.
Just start with live. That's too much pressure. We're live on Say Sports. It's now time to go
And
to our league commentator, Michael Noon.
Just say live on Say Sports.
Live on Say Sports like that. Okay, great. Okay, now. Let me know when to do it. Okay, now.
It's the live on Say Sports. It's the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix with commentary from Mike Noon.
Oh, I'm going to
Thank
forget
you,
that.
Dom.
Remind me before I...
Actually, no. Can I say thank you, Jim? Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Jackie.
Hello, everyone.
Needed.
Thank you, Jim. Needed. Say it. Get it said. Get it
Thank
said.
you, Jim. Hello, everyone, and welcome to.
Can we do it in Wilson's voice then? Like, not Wilson, what's he called?
Welcome to the final ever TGP1 race on F1 2017.
Shalom, Jackie.
Shalom, Jackie.
Last ever race, isn't it? Jesus. Wait, we need to keep this record going. No back-to-back winners in the whole of season 3.
Someone just put him in the wall. Simple.
Right, softening the wall.
When are we going to go live? 5 minutes again?
Oh my god, I've spun.
Is that Abu Dhabi or Abu Dubai? Abu Dhabi, innit?
Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi.
Good. Good. I was saying Abu Dhabi, but I was thinking, I don't want to get it wrong.
Abu Dhabi.
Don't do an Odems and say Abu Dhabi.
Fucking hell. Tomato.
Potato.
Why is this car so shit? I mean, honestly.
Literally, Portland winner request.
Look at the driver.
This race. Fucking hell.
Don't take out who?
Anyone?
I didn't take out
Fucking hell,
anyone.
dangerous rejoining, wipes out. Who did you wipe out?
Jake.
Took out Jake twice. Probably
Fucking
took out
hell.
Josh 5 times. Fucking Jake turns up now
Rejoining.
again.
Did you see the angle I was rejoining at? I wasn't exactly in control, was I?
Yeah, 90 degrees.
Yeah,
Worse than
exactly.
in Game of Fortnite. Oh.
Phil, I think if you hadn't have kept the foot on the power and slammed on the brakes, you wouldn't cause such a pile up.
Yeah.
Sorry. I didn't
Actually, you know
realise
what? I blame Eric.
One of the two.
TGP2. Oh wait, sorry.
Not another Scottish champion. Too many.